Landon, you were right. The longest flight that I've ever been on is the flight from the US to Japan. I think it's about 10 hours. I don't really remember. I haven't done that flight since I was like 11, so it's been a minute. I've had a lot of other interesting flying experiences though. I'll share some with you. One of my flying experiences was when we were in Japan while I was little. There was that 9.0 earthquake, which shattered the world, and while the earthquake for us was only like a 5.0 and shook buildings, it wasn't that bad. It did cause some tsunamis that wrecked the coast, which for us, we were far enough inland that it wasn't that bad, but it did crush some radiation nuclear power plants, which was actually really bad. And so we were scared, and the Coast Guard had only a certain amount of troops and their families in Japan, and they decided to deport us all to Guam. So I got to fly from Guam, and they put us in a cargo plane. It's like a big C-130. If you've seen like cargo planes, there's like seats along the sides and the middle's just empty, and we got to sit on those seats, and once we were up in the air we could just had a big open play area. We could throw a ball around, we could get out our sleeping bags and lie on the ground and just sleep, which was amazing because sleeping in a plane sitting up, I know since we went to Peru a few months ago, yeah, neither of us had a great time doing that sleep, so that was pretty fun. And we were little, so all the military pilots thought it was so cool to have kids on the plane, and they actually took us in the cockpit and let us sit in the pilot seat and steer and stuff, so that was one of my favorite flying experiences. Some other flying experiences I've had that were interesting. One of the first times I flew by myself, I was probably 15, 16, and I was flying from Virginia to Utah to visit some of my family, and I got stuck in the Baltimore airport overnight by myself. And so that was kind of interesting as a kid. I remember telling my parents like, oh, it'll be fine, I'll just go put up a hammock in some random yard. And Baltimore downtown, they thought that was scary, so something ended up working out where I didn't do that, but that was kind of interesting. Another crazy experience I had when I was little is one time we were stuck in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport for a long time. To this day, I think it's the worst airport in the world. There's all these trains and gates far away, and what they did was they canceled our flight and then rescheduled and canceled and kept moving it, and then we had finally waited for what felt like forever, and then they decided to move our flight up an hour and switch the gate to the other side of the airport. So we heard, last call for, oh, it was my mom and 5 kids by herself. Last call for Olsen, party of 6. And we freaked out, and I ended up like sprinting like a mile by myself with no luggage to go stop the plane so my mom and my sibling could get on. And they got a ride on the cart from the nice guy, and it was miracle, it was awesome, but super scary in the moment. So those are some of the flying experiences that come readily to mind. I've also been stopped at security a lot of times for flying. I've had confiscated food that they thought was drugs, drill bits. I had fake guns that I was a kid and they were like toy guns. I thought that was fine. Countless knives. I've brought like aerosol cans. They didn't like those. I think there's a point where I had been stopped more times than I had gone through without being stopped. I've also had days where you spend the entire day at the airport and never get on your flight and then just go home and have to come back the next day. I've stayed the night in the airport a few other times. In Hawaii, we couldn't get out one time. One of the things you can do as active duty military is you can board cargo planes for free, or basically free. It was like super cheap to just hop a ride. So we did that one time to get to Hawaii and couldn't figure out a way back. So we ended up having some really horrible experience in a regular airport. So all in all, I've had a good bit of flying. I do think it's fun. I'm sorry that your flight got delayed. It's always the worst, even like small things. Although sometimes it's nice when they give you a nice little compensation for it. But still, no one likes their time being wasted. Anyways, Landon, my question for you is, what's your worst airport experience? Hopefully it wasn't yesterday. But yeah, Landon, I'm excited to hear what that experience was like.
Yes!
I couldn't think of a more creative place to put that, so it goes at the end.